Bloomberg just published leaked transcripts of phone calls that are causing panic inside the Republican Party. Here's what happened. Steve Witkoff, a Florida real estate lawyer who Trump made his personal envoy to Russia, had a phone call with one of Putin's top aides. In that call, Witkoff is caught on transcript, coaching the Russian official on how to manipulate President Trump. He tells the Kremlin aide, just congratulate the president, tell him you respect that he is a man of peace. Tell him you're glad to have seen it happen. The Russian replies, I agree with you. He will say that Mr. Trump is a real peaceman. That was the script. 2 days later, Putin called Trump. They talked for 2.5 hours. Trump says it was very productive. The very next day, Ukraine's President Zelensky shows up at the White House. He was expecting long-range missiles. After Trump's call with Putin, denied. Now Republican congressmen are demanding Witkoff be fired. Quote, he fully favors the Russians, but Trump just sent him back to Moscow to negotiate again. Fique conmigo, because there's a second transcript and it reveals who actually wrote the peace plan Trump thinks is his own idea. These aren't rumors, these are transcripts. Bloomberg obtained recordings of 2 separate phone calls. The first call, Steve Witkoff and Yuri Ushakov, senior advisor to Vladimir Putin. The second call, 2 Russian officials talking to each other, Kirill Dmitriev, the Kremlin's official negotiator with the United States, and Ushakov again. Both calls happened in late October 2024. Both were conducted on regular, unsecured telephone lines. Not encrypted, not classified channels, regular phones. Investigative journalist Christo Grozev, who's now on Russia's wanted list for his previous reporting, confirms that over the last 10 years, his team at Bellingcat has documented hundreds of cases where Russian government officials use regular phones for sensitive discussions. Why? Because they feel there's impunity. They don't think they'll get caught. But someone was listening. Either a European intelligence agency monitoring Russian communications or an insider in the Kremlin itself trying to sabotage the peace process. And what they heard wasn't just careless. It was coordinated. This wasn't just diplomacy. It was collusion. Steve Witkoff isn't a diplomat. He's a real estate attorney. No intelligence background, no negotiation training, no prior government experience. Yet Trump personally selected him to be his envoy to Russia, one of the most sensitive geopolitical assignments on the planet. And here's the pattern. In the transcript, Witkoff tells Ushakov, I have the deepest respect for President Putin. He suggests that when Ushakov talks to Trump, he should say, Steve and Yuri discussed a very similar 20-point plan to peace. He adds, I think, Yuri, the president will give me a lot of space and discretion to get to the deal. This isn't neutral language. This is an American official telling a Russian official that he'll have room to maneuver and that Putin should position the plan as something Witkoff helped create. Republican Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick saw these transcripts and immediately posted, this is a major problem and one of the many reasons why these ridiculous sideshows and secret meetings need to stop. Allow Secretary of State Marco Rubio to do his job. Translation, even Trump's own party sees the danger. Now here's where it gets tactical. The second transcript, the one between 2 Russian officials, reveals the strategy. Dmitriev and Ushakov are talking to each other about how to present a peace proposal to the Americans. One of them says, and this is a direct quote from the Russian, I think we'll just make this paper from our position and let them do it like their own. Bloomberg's translation was softer, but Christo Grozev corrected it on air. The actual Russian phrase translates to, let's give them our version and pretend it's their own. They make it as if it's their own. That's not negotiation. That's manipulation. Grozev had been reporting for months that Russia created a peace plan, 28 points, back in early 2024. It was a Russian boilerplate. A Kremlin insider told him, this is what we plan to propose to the United States. Now, 6 months later, that exact plan surfaces, but it's being presented as an American proposal, and Trump believes it's his. Os detalles aqui importam, because this isn't just about Ukraine. It's about whether the President of the United States knows who's writing his foreign policy. So here's the question that should be haunting everyone right now. Is it possible to gaslight the President of the United States? Can you coach him, praise him, feed his ego, and then hand him a plan that serves your interests while making him believe it was his idea all along? According to these transcripts, the answer is yes. Witkoff tells the Kremlin, flatter Trump on his Gaza peace deal. Tell him he's a man of peace. Build rapport. Then introduce the plan. Putin's aide agrees. 2 days later, Putin calls. 2.5 hours. Very productive, Trump says. The next day, Zelensky arrives. He's been told privately that Trump will approve long-range missiles, weapons that could hit targets inside Russia, including Moscow. But after the Putin call, the decision flips. Zelensky leaves empty-handed. Request denied. The timing isn't coincidental, the sequence isn't random, and the 28-point peace plan that's now being discussed, Grozev says it contains 0 Russian concessions, every point favors Moscow, even the one that sounds like a compromise, deploying fighter jets in Poland to protect Ukraine, is actually designed to prevent Ukraine from buying its own jets from European suppliers, which Russia fears, here quotes, what happened next. On November 28, 2024, at 11:47 a.m. Eastern Time, Bloomberg drops the transcripts. Within hours, Republican lawmakers are publicly breaking with Trump's strategy. Congressman Don Bacon tweets, "It's clear Witkoff fully favors the Russians. He should be fired." Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick calls it a major problem. These aren't Democrats, these are members of Trump's own party. The White House doesn't deny the transcripts are real. Instead, the official response is, this reporting proves Witkoff talks to officials every day to achieve peace. That's not a denial, that's damage control. Russia, meanwhile, claims some of the transcripts are fake, but offers no evidence. Grozev says that's standard Kremlin playbook: deny, deflect, but don't provide proof. And here's the psychological impact. Trump now has to decide whether to keep Witkoff or fire him. If he fires him, he admits the transcripts are damaging. If he keeps him, he looks compromised. Either way, the leak has already done its job. It's exposed the mechanism, the technique, the manipulation in real time, and it's forced the question into the open: who is Steve Witkoff really working for? Now Trump is on Air Force One, heading to Florida for Thanksgiving. Reporters ask him about Russia. He says this: Russia is making big concessions. They should stop fighting and not take any more land. Listen to that framing. Not take any more land is now being called a concession. But Russia already occupies 18% of Ukraine, roughly 43,000 square miles. That's larger than the entire state of Virginia. Grozev responds on air, none of the 28 points present any concessions on behalf of Russia. All of it is pro-Russian. He continues, even the item that may have appeared to somebody as a Russian compromise, the deployment of fighter jets in Poland to protect Ukraine, even that is most likely something the Russians insisted on in order to prevent Ukraine from buying their own fighter jets from European providers, which Russia has been very concerned about. So when Trump says Russia is making concessions, where is he getting that information? The answer, Steve Witkoff. Grozev puts it bluntly, maybe Trump really believes that. But if that's coming from Steve Witkoff, we now know why. The filter matters. The source matters. And right now, the source is compromised. Here quotes. The most disturbing part. After all of this, after the leaked transcripts, after Republican lawmakers demanded Witkoff be fired, after it became public that he was coaching the Kremlin on how to manipulate Trump, Trump dispatched Witkoff back to Moscow, again, to negotiate directly with Putin's team. He's still the envoy. He's still in the room. He's still the primary channel between the White House and the Kremlin on Ukraine peace talks. And according to reporting, Trump and Zelensky have now agreed on some points of a possible peace deal. Which points? The ones Witkoff is presenting. The ones that originated in Moscow 6 months ago. The ones Russian officials explicitly said they would pretend were American ideas. This isn't speculation. This is documented. The transcripts exist. The timeline is clear. The consequences are already visible. Zelensky didn't get the missiles. The peace plan favors Russia, and the man in the middle, the one with the deepest respect for President Putin, is still negotiating on behalf of the United States. Grozev's final assessment. It's essentially gaslighting the American president. I don't see it any other way.